Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Full Press NFL Sunday. It is October 23rd, 2022, and it is Week 7 in the NFL. And we got some interesting things going on. Big trade this week going down in the NFL, actually late night, Thursday night. Christian McCaffrey heading to the 49ers, being traded for a handful of draft picks, and he will be making his debut today against the Kansas City Chiefs. So we will certainly be talking about that game, as well as, of course, giving our game picks for everything else going on today on Sunday. So, Braden, good morning. How are you doing? And ready for some football today?
Yeah, I'm not doing too bad. It's kind of a weird slate of games today. We got some interesting injury news yesterday, so some surprises coming today. So it's I'm sure going to be a wild Sunday today in the NFL.
Oh, absolutely. And like I said, we're thinking about that Chiefs and 49ers game with Kansas or Christian McCaffrey making his debut. He's a running back, so I think of all the players, skilled position players, certainly it might take the least amount of time to kind of get caught up. It's probably the running back position. Not to say that he's fully ingrained in what they're doing on offense, but I think there's going to be a nice handful of plays for him in this offense, which, like I said, right now looks like really the weak spot is the quarterback. You have a top flight receiver / running back. You have a top flight running back / receiver. And you have George Kittle, assuming you actually use him as a pass catching tight end. You have an elite pass catcher and a run blocker in a tight end in George Kittle. So I know people have already said it. I said it Friday morning when I talked about this on FPC Radio. It's going to look like a very, very nice offense for Tom Brady next season when he goes to San Francisco. But right now, it absolutely makes him better. And at first, I'm like, okay, you're giving up a lot of draft capital for a running back, which is okay. What are you doing? But at the end of the day, the guy is. You want to win right now. This team is built to win right now, with the exception of maybe the quarterback. But even though we still know that Jimmy Garoppolo can win games, we just don't know if he's built to actually carry them. But they have the talent, both offensively and defensively, assuming they stay healthy. So I like the trade for both teams. Carolina really had no choice. They couldn't go into the offseason with little to nothing to look forward to and still have Christian McCaffrey and no draft capital. So I like that move from that standpoint. What are your thoughts on the 49ers or the Panthers or whoever may have missed out on Christian McCaffrey?
Yeah, I guess the biggest thing with McCaffrey is just thinking about the Shanahan offense and kind of how much they prioritize that wide zone and getting their running backs out into space. They've certainly had some faster running backs, all the ones that they've used over the years, but this may be the most pure skill set. I think that they've kind of been able to infuse, and you talk about how they're able to kind of mix up that physicality and that athleticism throughout their offense. It's just so many ways in which they can attack you. And then obviously the versatility that McCaffrey has is going to be an added bonus. And we just haven't really seen that much of that kind of versatility in that 49ers offense at that position in a while. And I think for the Panthers, I think to kind of get that draft capital, I think someone said it might have been the Panthers GM that they kind of, equated that to a 32nd overall pick on their board. So you talk about a team that's rebuilding and how much capital they have now. If they're able to kind of draft a quarterback early next year, they're going to maybe have a little bit quicker time to kind of get back into the role of things and get these younger pieces back to playing together right away from the jump.
Yeah, and look, realistically, unless it's, even so, if it is a top 10 pick, first round picks are kind of overrated a little bit. I think the allure, it's a first round pick. Well, as we see each and every year, there's a lot of value in rounds 2, 3, 4, and 5, and they just accumulated several of those picks. So again, on paper, it looks good for the Panthers. I don't think anyone was going to give them a first round pick. The big question with McCaffrey, and it's a double-edged sword here, is like, why are you giving him, or why are you paying that much just to get this guy who's often injured? Well, there's truth to that, sure. But this season, he's actually been very healthy. And if you think about his usage in what it was in Carolina and what I think it's going to be here in 49ers, with the 49ers, I think it's going to be a whole hell of a lot less. It still doesn't mean he's not going to touch the ball a lot, because just in Carolina, he was touching the ball 40 times a game. No wonder he was injured all the time. So I think the 49ers are certainly set up to have a little bit more success and use him a little bit more appropriately. And like I said, I kind of joked at the beginning that, oh, it's just lining up for Tom Brady. But I mean, joke or not, I mean, it's kind of a joke, but the more I say it, the more I'm kind of convincing myself that that's going to happen because, well, when asked this week, it was a dumb question to begin with, but when asked about maybe retiring in the middle of the season, he said he has no plans to retire anytime soon, which I don't know. Maybe I'm reading a little bit too much into it, but kind of tells me and kind of reinforces my hunch that I didn't think he was going to hang him up after this year, after whatever's going on in his at home or whatever. I kind of got the feeling he was going to entertain playing beyond the season, but that's beside the point. We're talking about the 49ers right now, and right now they have Jimmy Garoppolo. And I think this move, if you think about it, was obviously to make them better. They're physically better, although their issues haven't been solved. A lot of their issues also are health related, so you can't really just snap your fingers and solve those problems. But this move was made to protect Jimmy Garoppolo. Yeah, I already mentioned George Kittle. I already mentioned Deebo Samuel. Now you have Christian McCaffrey. You have three guys where the majority of their routes, or at least the plays that they can make, are safe, relatively safe throws. You're not going to be asking Jimmy Garoppolo to throw the ball deep down the field. You're not going to be, I mean, unless it's a middle of the field shot to George Kittle, and those, if done properly, are relatively safe throws because of the timing and obviously a lot of those are very effective off play action and situations like that. But you're talking about having many outlets that are going to greatly limit Jimmy Garoppolo's ineffectiveness.
Mhm.
So I like the move a lot for the 49ers. I don't know where this puts them in the hierarchy of the NFC. I mean, I really got to, I guess, see them get a little bit healthier and see them play. I mean, we just saw them get trampled last week. So, I mean, I'm
Yeah.
not sitting here riding high off a big win. This is kind of, all right, I think they got better, certainly talent wise, but at the end of the day, it's like they got to stay healthy. I like the move for the 49ers. I know a lot of people are, oh, they paid too much. Why are you giving that to a aging running back? Because he's better than what they have. And like I said, I think at the end of the day, this is going to be a move to protect Jimmy Garoppolo.
Yeah, and I think just explaining what it means for them in future seasons. I know the contract has an out after this year, but obviously they didn't make this trade for a 1 year rental. So you talk about really not having a lot of guaranteed money left on that deal the last 3 years, and I think just how young this roster still is compared to what they've already achieved. Like you said, whether it's Brady or whoever else next year, I think it's just they're obviously experienced in the playoffs, but they're still kind of on that upward trajectory where they're really at a prime opportunity to kind of cash in these next few years, given kind of the state of these older teams in the NFC. So I think that's what would excite me the most if I'm a 49ers fan.
Yeah, look, I mean, this move this week could pay immediate dividends because I pay, I'll give it away, I guess, or well, I guess I've already kind of given it away, and I assume that everyone that's watching this show has already watched FBC Radio live on Friday, so they already know that I've picked the 49ers to win this game, and really the reason why is the Chiefs have a terrible run defense, and I'm looking at a team that is going to want to try out all its new toys under Kyle Shanahan, and I honestly think that they're going to get theirs on the ground. And I think ultimately it's going to look. I think the 49ers are, this game means a little bit more to them, obviously, record wise. But, it's revenge for the Super Bowl. And we see this with
Right.
great teams all the time. And I'm talking about the Chiefs that, that they can't, it's impossible for them to get up to the level of some of their opponents because to their opponents, that game is far greater than any regular season game the Chiefs are going to play. So for a lot of those reasons, I'm not saying that as an excuse as to why they're going to lose. I just think that's ultimately going to play a factor. So, come 8 o'clock tonight when we're talking about, oh my God, how did the 49ers win this game? Well, they rushed for 200 some odd yards. And you know what I mean? Like it just, to me, I look at this and I'm like, wow, the 49ers, maybe I'm buying into the hype a little bit too much, but I feel like this is like the perfect time for them to win a game like this, just because it's the perfect defense for them to go up against. And in terms of running. So, are you concerned with the Chiefs running it defense against this team? Because, like I said, it's not just Christian McCaffrey; it's also Deebo Samuel.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that's most concerning is probably the defensive line up front. Outside of Chris Jones, it seems like they're getting blown back a little bit more up front this year. I think in the past, most of their run defense issues was kind of more on the second level and missing tackles in space, which I think is still still a big issue. But I think that's more in the passing game right now. So I think it starts kind of up front for the run defense, and it just seems like disengaging from blocks and kind of doing the little things to kind of shoot gaps and get into those running lanes. It's just a tick off, and I think it's going to take some time. Again, we've seen in the past Spags kind of get some things fixed in the second half of the season, but I think the run defense right now it's going to take a lot of time to correct those.
Yeah, and like I said, this isn't just your normal run-of-the-mill running team. This is a team that's predicated on running the ball and has two of the more talented players. On, one of which obviously, we talk about Deebo Samuel, and with Cordero Patterson out or hadn't played in the last few weeks. I mean, you can. It's kind of between those two. Who's the best running wide receiver? Running back / right or wide receiver / running, however you want to call it. So right now, 49ers are looking like they have probably the best two-way player at wide receiver and also at running back in terms of being able to do both. And again, going back to whether or not they ever want to use George Kittle as a pass catcher again, you might have the best two-way player. Not that he's a better pass catcher than Travis Kelce, but obviously I think George Kittle is obviously blocking is obviously a bigger part of his game than it is Kelce. That's not a knock on Kelce. Just you're looking at multi-dimensional players at very key positions on offense. And if you can't win, I mean, obviously you're deficient at quarterback. And I think we agree that, yeah, Jimmy Garoppolo, he's a fine player. But as I said last week on our on the FPC radio, there is the middle average group of quarterbacks are all kind of the same. They're all kind of run of the mill. They do some nice things. They usually make a mistake, and they're not going to be. And that's who Jimmy Garoppolo is. Now, I'm sure there's different layers to that, but I'm talking about a majority of the league, perhaps 2/3 of the league at quarterback position are in that group. So, yeah, can Jimmy Garoppolo win some games? Absolutely. Can he carry the 49ers on his shoulders to a Super Bowl win? No, but he's not going to have to as long as he plays okay and, the talent around him stays healthy. Well, that second part's obviously a key thing because, well, the 49ers and being unhealthy it's hard to separate the two because they've kind of gone hand in hand the last few years. So, so of course we get Christian McCaffrey making his debut with the 49ers. Dak Prescott returns for the Cowboys today, which obviously will be, all eyes on that because obviously the Cowboys have played really good football, but I think their Cooper Rush mojo kind of ran very dry last week, and I think you kind of maximized what you can get out of him. So now you have the Cowboys, you have the Eagles, and you have the Giants in the NFC East. And coming into the season, I mean, I like the Eagles, but I wasn't as high on them as some of the other people were. I certainly wasn't high on the division across the board, and kind of looks like the most competitive, best complete division in there. And then you have Washington, who may or may not upset the Green Bay Packers today. I really don't know. I don't know. So NFC East: Cowboys, Giants, Eagles. Pressure's up against you. Who are you going to take to win that division? Because, again, I think there are questions. I think there's a clear best team right now, but the difference isn't too wide.
Yeah, I think I kind of got to stick with what I had going into the season and go with the Eagles. And I think it's just the ways in which they can beat you is a little bit more wide than what some of these other teams are. I think with the Giants, you kind of know if you can slow down Saquon Barkley, which isn't always easy to do, but if you can do that, I think the formula is there to beat them. And I think with the Cowboys, it's just getting in front of them and getting a lead, I think, and kind of staying on top of their offense is kind of the priority number one there. So I think I got to stick with the Eagles, and I think it's just man, the way in which they dominate in the trenches. I know it's not always the best headline to point towards, but to me, they probably have the best offensive tackle duo in the league right now, and I think just the ways in which they continue to find these kind of powerful defensive linemen that continue to produce at a high rate. I think that's just something that's going to continue to push them throughout this season. So I got to stick with the Eagles.
Yeah, and look, I mean, they've really done nothing to make you doubt them. They're getting great quarterback play. They're running the ball very well, and they're fast, and they're they make plays. And I think, again, in this division, it's always exactly what we don't expect it to be. I think, going into the season, I think people say, oh, okay, maybe the Cowboys, because, it's always the Cowboys. How good is Carson Wentz going to be? Well, he's on injured reserve, but they might actually be better with Taylor Heineke maybe this week. I don't know. I mean, it's a confusing team. I don't think Washington is good at all. Sorry, George, if you're listening. But my thing with that is and I've said it, I think I say it every single week that we bring up Washington. It all starts at the top. So as long as you're having issues in ownership, it's going to trickle down all the way through the entire organization. So my hopes for the Commanders are very slim until that sorts itself out. But moving forward, you're looking at the NFC East, and I mean, I think the Giants are for real. I mean, we each and every week we're like, man, they're still winning games. They're 5-1. They're gritty. I mean, they don't have the best defensive unit. They don't have the best offensive unit. They don't have the best quarterback, but they're winning games and they're playing for Brian Daboll. And I think that's more important. Certainly now with 17 games in a season, like you want to win and you want to learn how to, you want to be able to learn how to win while you're winning football games in the NFL. That's the ideal situation, and that's exactly what's happening with the Giants. And again, point to the coaching, point to obviously Saquon Barkley. Daniel Jones is not turning the ball over.
Right.
And if you look at his last 4 seasons, including this one, his interception or his turnover rate has dropped each and every year. And right now, he's at a clip that's essentially the level of the elite quarterbacks in this league. So if that can continue, there's no reason why this Giants team can't continue to win games. Now, the question is, though, which New York team are you buying into more? The Giants or the New York Jets? Who?
Oh, man.
Unfortunately, who get to go up against the Russell Wilson free Denver Broncos. So sorry, I was just thinking about our studs and duds list for this week, and I just realized that I cannot put Russell Wilson on my duds list. So anyways, back to the question, Jets or Giants, which one are you buying more or at least see a better long-term outlook for?
Yeah, I got to go with the Giants just because I think there's a little bit more sustainability in what they're building this season. I think the Jets are still going to have some major questions either with the leadership or I think just kind of the most important positions. Going forward, I know that's kind of that way at quarterback for the Giants right now at Daniel Jones, but I think you still have a lot of incomplete results. I think what you've seen from Zach Wilson and I think just he hasn't done enough yet in his second year to really, I think, prove that, he's the long-term guy going forward. And I think the Giants just have kind of that style of play that in today's NFL, they can kind of steal some games and they can, you mentioned how gritty they are. I think that's a perfect kind of style. I think that I would, cling to right now in today's NFL where a lot of teams are more pass happy. So I think there's just a little bit more we've seen from the Giants. So
Yeah, I agree. And look, I mean, one of the problems with Zach Wilson is he has to stay healthy. 2 seasons in the league, and he's already missed a handful of games because of his health. So, you can't even have an impact when you're not on the field, especially at the quarterback position. So I agree with you. I think the Giants, what they're doing is a little bit safer and a little bit more, like you said, just sustainable. Whereas the Jets are kind of they're just playing with this, I guess, freedom, so to speak, where it's just like, you know what? We're just going out and winning games. I mean, the expectations are 0 for that team. So what are they going to do? They're playing pretty loose. I mean, except for, to your point, there are still issues that they're going to have to work out, primarily when it comes to Denzel Mims and who just requested a trade. Just the
Elijah Moore.
Thank you. Elijah, I got tongue tied there a little bit, but you have two of your wide receivers wanting out, and that's
Right.
not a good thing. So, if you're a Jets fan, obviously, if you're a New York fan, right now all attention is on football because, well, baseball, it's not looking too good. I'm not gonna say anything until it's over, but it's almost over for the Yankees. So right now, I mean, look, you got to be excited if you're a New York fan. You got Buffalo, who's Buffalo. Giants, obviously, I think are maybe a little bit more ahead of schedule, and that has a lot to do with the coach. And then, of
Right.
course, you have the Jets, who, I mean, again, you win 4 games in a season. That's a pretty damn good season for the Jets. No offense. Well, actually, no offense meant, Jets fans. I'm a Patriots fan, so I inherently hate the Jets. I mean, it's part of my makeup. But the reality of it is they're all playing really good football. And I agree, like I said, I agree. I think the Giants, like if you're going to ask me who's going to make the playoffs, if one of those teams is going to make the playoffs, 100 times out of 100, I'll pick the Giants because I do think the Jets will come back to earth. Like honestly, I don't think they're better than the Patriots right now because I think Patriots are obviously they're an example of more of a sustained, like if they start getting things right,
Mhm.
there's no reason to think that they're not going to sustain what they've been doing well. Mac Jones is healthy. I don't know about the Dolphins. I mean, I guess it depends if it's Tua in there. Like
Yeah.
as crazy as it seems, after 3 weeks this year, if I would have told you at week 7 the Dolphins would probably be the worst team in the AFC East, I would have laughed at myself, and you would have laughed at me, and we probably would have never done the show again because that would have been stupid. But fast forward 4 weeks, and I think it's true. I mean, this team they got talent. Do they have the coaching and the leadership to keep it all together? I don't know. And it's not saying Mike McDaniel is a bad coach. I'm saying he's inexperienced.
Mhm.
And with a team that has as high of expectations, uh, warranted or not, and I think there was some reason to believe that they were going to be a better team for sure, but I think the hype did get a little bit out of control, certainly after the first couple weeks. Um, can they sustain that? Can he manage that? I don't know. Because when it comes to important, crucial decisions made by this organization, so far, F minus, because they made some very bad decisions, personnel management wise, all that. So I'm looking at the AFC East and I say, okay, the Jets are, I mean, the Bills are probably going to win the division. I just don't, right now, I don't think any of those other 3 teams, like, I think the Patriots are getting better. I don't think they're that good yet. I think they have a
Right.
little bit ways to go. Same with the Jets, and I think the Jets, as crazy as it sounds, I think the Patriots are the second best team in that division. And you know, part of that has to do with coaching. A lot of that has to do with we're seeing the worst Patriots draft ever this year, according to some, turn out to be actually a very good draft when you look at who's making an impact at all these important positions. And we talk about Sauce Gardner with the New York Jets. I mean, Jack Jones with the Patriots. I mean, the guy
Right.
is flying under the radar, but again, playing cornerback at a high level. And you look at J.C. Jackson over in Los Angeles, and well, that's all I got to say. So I guess I don't know how we got onto just the AFC East in general, but the 2 East divisions are fascinating, and really the 2 divisions you can really count on the most to put out good football week in and week out. As
Right.
crazy as that sounds, because I would have never guessed it coming into this season.
Yeah, and I think the thing that sticks out in the AFC East is just like you said, the inexperience with McDaniel. I guess that's where I kind of am really interested to see tonight's game against the Steelers because it just seems like there's a lot of questions that they're facing just in the next couple of weeks of is Gesicki still going to be there after the trade deadline? And I think there's still some roles that some guys are longing for that aren't kind of being met right now in the offense. And I don't think it's that McDaniel's obviously, favoring guys over the other, but it just seems like there's a lot of tough decisions he's having to make at once. And, with the quarterback situation that they've had to, with all the injuries, I think it's really flipped the script for them and how they're going to have to attack here in the second half of the season. So that's a game I'm really excited to watch tonight. I guess kind of leaving that last note there on the AFC East is I think, kind of that experience at Pittsburgh and kind of the veteran leadership that they have, is Miami going to be able to kind of respond to that if Pittsburgh's old ways kind of put them behind the eight ball a little bit.
And fair or not, this is all on Tua. I mean, it is, unfortunately, it is what it is. So if he comes back today and struggles, well, what's wrong with Tua? Well, no. I mean, again, there's a lot that goes into it, and you got to remember the guy's recovering from two fairly significant concussions in just a matter of 2 weeks. So there might be a little bit too much pressure for him to right the ship because and that's what leaders do. They're going to take that and wear it with a badge of honor and be like, no, look, that's on me. I'm gonna get us right. But the reality of it is, I don't know if he's a guy that can handle that pressure in the NFL, at least. I don't know.
Right.
And anyone to say, what are you talking about? Well, have we seen it? No, we haven't. And that's not a knock on him. He's still young into his career, but a lot of pressure going on, and he's going to have to, again, kind of bear the grunt of it all, whether it's positive, negative, or anything in between. So, all right, week 7. A couple of other quick notes before we jump into our game picks, and we're going to do these in just a minute. Brian Burns doesn't seem like he's going to be on the move, according to Ian Rappaport. I know a lot of Chiefs fans were clamoring for the potential of a 29 sack guy over the course of his career, but it looks like they are. And look, I mean, I was all for them trading Christian McCaffrey, trading a 26-year-old pass rusher.
Right.
Yeah, that would have been a reason why Carolina continues to stay in the dumps. I mean, you got to make smart decisions. I don't think it would have been. Now, if you believe them, they reportedly turned down 2 first-round picks, which, again, if you're going to turn down 2 first-round picks, you probably weren't going to trade him to begin with. So I don't know how realistic it was that they were, seeking to trade him, unless it was Tampa calling and they're like, no, we're not going to trade him to inside the division. But even then, I'm like thinking, it's probably not going to happen. They've moved Robbie Anderson. They've moved Christian McCaffrey. Brian Burns, again, I don't see if you're going to be, you don't have that much talent on that team to begin with. You need to keep the guys that could potentially be, the linchpin of your defense or your team in general moving forward. So
yeah, there's only, even with how many draft picks you acquire, I mean, there's only so much rookies can do in their first 1 or 2 seasons. So definitely going to be part of the plan there for Carolina.
Yeah, look, this team isn't going to win anytime soon. They don't have a quarterback. I mean, they have 3 quarterbacks on the roster and don't have a single one. I mean, it's again, that's that I never the whole Baker Mayfield thing. I don't know. I mean, it obviously looks terrible in hindsight. I thought it looked bad to begin with, but whatever. That's me. That's why I'm here, and I'm not in an NFL front office. But other rumors kind of floating around is with Denver, potentially Jerry Jeudy name's been thrown out there a little bit. I mean, these are literally just maybe a little bit of smoke. Doesn't mean anything's about to happen with him. But with the trade deadline coming up in 9 days, November 1st, you might see things get a little bit more hectic because, we are starting to kind of see the teams that are going to be competitors, and Denver certainly does not look like one of them. Again, you never know because they might have upgraded at the quarterback position. So, look, I'm not going to be able to dump on the guy when we do studs and duds next week, so I might as well get my picks in now. So, all right, let's get to our game picks because we got 3, 6, 9, 12. I can count 12 games to pick. Actually, 11 if depending on if we do Monday Night Football or not. But we're going to start in Washington with Green Bay visiting the Packers. Green Bay visiting the Commanders. I asked earlier if maybe Washington was going to win. No. I wouldn't be surprised if they won. I mean, I'd be surprised because then I'd be like, wow, Green Bay, how'd you lose to Washington after what we've seen the last couple of weeks? But I am going to go with Green Bay. I just cannot see them after last week's debacle going in and losing a game to Washington, to a team that again is there's not a lot of good things going for them. So I'll go with Green Bay.
I'm going with Green Bay as well. I think this is, kind of a perfect defense for Rodgers and this offense to get going against a little bit. They're, they do have talent up front on the defensive line, but It just seems like in the back seven, there's so much miscommunication and a lot of openings that are left. So I think Aaron Rodgers will have some of those easier throws today, and I kind of think he'll take care of business. So I got Green Bay.
Next, we have the Giants heading to Jacksonville. Jacksonville's got, they're not the Jags of a couple years ago, but they're still not a great team. And we've already talked quite a bit about the Giants. I think the Giants will take care of business down in what could have been the Tom Coughlin Bowl, but obviously that would have been a few years back, and I think everyone's moved on. So maybe I'm outdating myself there a little bit, but yeah. So I'll take the Giants on the road, actually.
Yeah, I'm going Giants as well. I think this is just this is going to be an interesting game. I think two fun defenses to watch that are really just very physical. They're going to be able to get after the quarterbacks a little bit, and we've seen, unfortunately for Trevor Lawrence, some more turnovers pop up lately. So I'm kind of just going with what we've seen recent last couple of weeks with him, and I think the Giants will find a way on the road to get the win.
Next, we have Detroit coming off a bye week, taking on Dak Prescott and the Dallas Cowboys. I like Dallas in this one, not just because of Dak, but Detroit again. Last time we saw them, it was a Patriots game. Actually, they were getting shut out. As crazy as that sounds, it feels like that was weeks ago. But this is a defense that, or a team that very explosive on offense. Certainly has the potential to put up a bunch of points. But I think Dallas handles this game fairly easily. So give me Dallas.
Yeah, it's frustrating for Detroit. I mean, obviously a lot of people were kind of buying into the hype that they'd maybe be able to string together some more wins with kind of the hard work they showed last year. But eventually, they got to start being able to finish games and playing complete games, and I just don't see that happening still today. So I'm gonna go with the Cowboys.
Next, we have Atlanta going to Cincinnati, and Cincinnati seems to be finding its way a little bit here. It's not as, certainly based on how they started, you could only go up. But the Falcons have been surprisingly, how can I describe? They're surprisingly competitive.
Mm-hmm.
And, I don't think they're a good team, but I think they're capable of winning just about any game that they play in, with several. And look, I think they're going to win this one. I think they're going to go to Cincinnati on the road and, in a way, upset the Bengals. So give me Atlanta in this one.
Yeah, I was close to going there as well. I do think Atlanta's one of those teams. If you're picking the spread every week, I would probably take them almost any week
6-0 against the spread
if they're underdogs. So I guess the biggest reason why I'm going Cincinnati, I kind of like what I've seen lately from their offense, and Burrow's starting to hit on those explosive plays a little bit. Jamar Chase has gotten going, so I think it'll be tight, but I'm going to go with the Bengals.
Next, we have Cleveland at Baltimore. Cleveland, I don't have a whole hell of a lot of trust in either of these two teams, to be honest with you. I like Lamar Jackson a lot, but there's been some questionable, back-to-back turnovers this past week led to a loss. There was, I would blame John Harbaugh a little bit more for the loss a few weeks ago, but Lamar Jackson didn't necessarily help him that much. So I do like Baltimore in this game because I think Cleveland they're just trying to hang on at this point. I think or maybe two of those wheels might have fallen off last week because they kind of did get dominated by the Patriots and turn the ball over a lot. So at this point, they're just waiting, 5 more weeks for Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Jackson's going somewhere else, which is crazy to think. But 5 more weeks to kind of weather the storm. I think Baltimore gets this one at home.
Yeah, two bad defenses. Luckily for Baltimore, Jacoby Brissett is on the other side. So unless Nick Chubb has 300 rushing yards, I don't think Baltimore is going to give up that many defensive openings today. So I'll go with the Ravens, but I kind of expect a lot of points in this one.
Next, we have Tampa Bay at Carolina. Tampa's obviously struggled. We've talked about their problems quite a bit over the last few weeks. I like them on the road here. Again, they should. This is a game that I don't. If I'm a Bucs fan, I don't want to see them just win. I want to see them blow this team out because Carolina just got rid of its 2 best offensive players prior to this matchup. You should go in there and dominate them. Now, again, Tampa's very good at getting in their own way. But if you go in, you commit to throwing to set up the run, not the other way around, you're going to put up 35 points and probably win the game by 17 to 20 something points. So I'm taking Tampa, but again, I'd like to see that type of game from them. I don't know if it is. Maybe it'll be a lot closer than we expect, but Tampa on the road.
Yeah, I'm going Tampa as well. Don't really have a whole lot to add to this one. I think PJ Walker is, obviously got a good chance in front of him, though. I'm interested to see how he kind of finishes the season here, assuming, he gets a decent amount of playing time. I guess that's not 100% certain, but obviously, I think he'll have an ability to kind of extend plays today and maybe get DJ Moore going a little bit. Seeing how the Bucks secondary has been up and down, but yeah, I think overall it's just it should be in quotes a dominant Bucks win today.
Indianapolis at Tennessee. Two teams that are just kind of there. You know what I mean? They happen to be in the NFL and they happen to be playing football this Sunday. I don't think either team is particularly great. Certainly not the Colts, but I don't think either team is bad. They're just strikingly average. And I think that's what we're going to get here today. And I have to pick one team to win, so I'm going to take the Titans because they're at home. And I do think that they are, I'm being a little harsh for them. I do think that they are a better team than the Colts. But again, I look at those two teams and I'm like, I don't know. We've seen the Titans. Does anyone trust the Titans in the playoffs, even if they were good? No. The Colts are the Colts. So yeah, I like I said, I look at these two teams. I don't see either of them as contenders this year, and I think they're closer than I think people think in terms of ability, and that's I guess that might be more of an insult towards Tennessee than it is Indianapolis. But in this case, Tennessee is going to get the better of the two performances today and win at home. So Tennessee.
Yeah, it's interesting the series history. Usually these teams are guaranteed to split almost every year, but I think Tennessee is going to get the sweep today, and I think one thing that's kind of flying under the radar right now for them is kind of their pass rush and their defensive front. Especially with somebody like a Jeffrey Simmons, this is a matchup for him where Jonathan Taylor should be back in the lineup today. So I think he's going to be kind of their leader up front, and I'm going to go Titans as well, but I think it'll be kind of a weird, grinded out, close game.
Next, we had the Jets at the Broncos. I picked this game before we knew Russell Wilson was out, and it wouldn't have changed my mind. I already picked the Jets because, again, we talked about the Jets earlier. I think this is a team that I think is playing above their expectation, and again, it's not necessarily sustainable, but it could be a foundational building block for season 2, 3, 4 from 2 years from now, 3 years from now. Denver, I just think, again, I thought I was never high on Russell Wilson. He's been even worse than you could have imagined coming into this season. And their backup isn't any better. Like I'd like to make some like snide remark about their backup maybe helping them out, but like I did with Washington. But I can't even. I've seen Ripien play before, and I'm not going to go that far. Either way, I picked the Jets regardless. Russell Wilson or no Russell Wilson. I just don't think Denver, outside of a pretty solid defense, I just don't think they're really good. They're poorly coached. I don't think they have any sort of rhyme or reason on offense, and their quarterback, backup or not, is limited. So give me the Jets.
Yeah, your last point was kind of where I was going to go with just how poorly coached. Regardless of the quarterback situation, it just seems like there's been a lot of boiling points kind of in that locker room. We saw what happened with Melvin Gordon last week and Jerry Jeudy kind of being frustrated as well. So I think there's just a lot more than the quarterback position that's really hurt this Denver team. We'll see if the defense can keep them in it, but I'm going to go with the Jets as well.
Yeah, this isn't just the Russell Wilson problem. I've obviously piled on him, but it's just Denver's just you swung and miss at head coach because, again, the theory was out there that you get Nathaniel Hackett to lure Aaron Rodgers. Now, I don't know how much better that would have been with Aaron Rodgers based on how he's been playing this season, but I would absolutely believe Denver would be a much better team with Rodgers, even with Nathaniel Hackett, than Russell Wilson. So, all right, next we have Houston at Las Vegas, the battle of 2 1-win teams and the 2 worst teams in the AFC by record. I like Las Vegas at home. I mean, they're doing some nice things, and again, maybe I just can't get over. They have talent, and at any moment you can see a Derek Carr to Devontae Adams big pass. But I think they are better than Houston at least, and I think at home I think they'll take care of business. So give me the Raiders.
Yeah, not a whole lot to add to this one. I think Davis Mills, as much as I kind of like what I saw from him last year, it just seems like he's not able to hit on passes kind of down the field right now, like we saw at times last year. So I think there's kind of a clock ticking a little bit faster than what I would have thought for him at this point in the season. So with him being a little bit off, I think this will be a week where the Raiders D won't have to worry as much, and I think they'll get the win today.
All right, next we have Kansas City at San Francisco. I've already given my pick for this, and that's San Francisco. And I'll repeat what I said earlier. I think San Francisco is just going to take advantage of the rushing matchup. And in this situation, I think this is another one of those areas of the parts of the season where Kansas City might miss Tyreek Hill a lot, because we still haven't really seen that. And I don't want to say lack of explosion, because it's an explosive offense, but it's still missing that Tyreek Hill element. And I just, against a team like San Francisco, who I think is going to be able to run the ball. This is all predicated on them being able to run the ball on a Chiefs rushing defense that really isn't that good, and we've seen get kind of bullied from time to time throughout the course of the season. And like I said, a lot of momentum aspects. The revenge factor. Jimmy G's finally gets his win. All that stuff I think favors San Francisco. So I think in this particular week, I think they're going to come out on top. So give me the 49ers.
Yeah, I went with the Chiefs. I think this is, kind of a similar game going into the Colts one where, it's not going to be easy. And I think obviously the Niners, a lot better team than the Colts, but I think there's just something about the Chiefs offense that I think is going to be able to kind of get them going today. I think especially coming off a loss. I think Andy's going to have some tricks up his sleeve, kind of like he did coming off the Indy loss earlier this year. So I think especially going into a bye, I think this one's gonna be one the Chiefs are gonna want to attack a little bit out of the gates, and hopefully for them they get a faster start than what we've seen in other weeks. But I do think it'll be a one-score game, but I'm gonna go with Kansas City.
Yeah, look, I mean, the fact that they lost last week is the only reason why I'm not sitting here saying 100% guaranteed they're going to lose this week, because great teams don't often lose 2 games in a row, even if all the cards are stacked against them. So, it is kind of a stretch. And look, it would be a bad loss going into the bye,
Right?
Because obviously the talking points would be losing 2 games in a row and watching Buffalo. Buffalo is off this week, so at the very least, going into week 8, the talk is going to be about Buffalo. Well, imagine if the talk is about Buffalo on top of the Kansas City Chiefs losing 2 games in a row. And look, I don't, like I said, if the Chiefs lose this game, obviously in the moment now, it's the worst loss in the history. It's like, oh my God, what's going to happen? But at the end of the day, at the end of the season, we're going to look back and be like, who cares? It was week 7. It's not even Halloween yet, Right. But I do think San Francisco is going to come out on top in this one. So Pittsburgh at Miami, Sunday Night Football. Miami, Tua is playing, I believe, right? That's 100%.
Yeah, I think so. Yep.
So I just want to double check just before I start saying anything and like a fool. But no, Miami at home, like Pittsburgh again. I they beat Buccaneers last week. I don't have a reason for that. I just, it is what it is. Every team's going to be able to, I don't think they're going to do it this week. I don't, we talked about Miami struggling and everything like that. I still think they're going to get things right a little bit against a team that I really don't think, look, they got the best of Tom Brady and the Bucs last week. That is, in my eyes, more of just an outlier than a trend. I still don't think this team is particularly good, especially on defense. And I think Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, I think those guys can certainly exploit that this week. So give me the Dolphins.
Yeah, I'm actually going to go with the Steelers, and I think it's just kind of that experience in these moments. I think Mike Tomlin just able to kind of coach his team up where that inexperience with McDaniel in a big moment like this, 3 straight losses, coming into a game like this where I think they should have the offensive advantage. I think that's just going to be a lot of pressure for Tua in his first game back, and I think Pittsburgh's going to find a way to do it. It's kind of interesting. I think I saw a stat the Dolphins have had like the fewest Sunday night football games in history. Kind of wild when you look at their pedigree from the past. But so this is kind of a rarity seeing them on Sunday night, and I think unfortunately for them it'll be a Miami loss.
I hope you're right. Actually, I do. I really do, because again, deep down, I am a Patriots fan, so I inherently hate all the AFC East teams. Although I don't like. I can appreciate the talent. You know what I mean? I just I can't root. I can't physically root for them. So all right, that's gonna do it. We're gonna say Monday night. Actually, we're not gonna do Monday night because it isn't Monday. It's Sunday, and we only pick our Sunday games. I took New England, by the way, Monday Night Football. I think it's kind of pretty obvious. I don't. I think the Patriots are gonna go in and Mac Jones or not. I think they're gonna continue to do what they've been doing and play some really good football. But that is going to do it for us here today. Be sure to stay tuned here in just a little bit. We have our Full Press Fantasy Live show. And of course, tune in tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. as myself and John Sapichetti kick off another week of FPC Radio Live. And we'll recap this game. We'll preview more of Monday night's game. And of course, talk about the week to come. So thank you, everyone. Give us a follow on Twitter. It's at Full Press NFL. And, of course, go over to fullpresscoverage.com to check out all the great content over there now. So thank you, everyone, and we will talk to you next week.